This is the all-new 2024 S650 Mustang GT Fastback, and it is the predecessor to the S550 generation that went from 2015 to 2023, nearly 10 years of the last Mustang, and we've finally been presented with a whole new generation, and today I'm going to be bringing you a review of it. I'm Aiden, and you're watching Gaudin X. Now, on the exterior of the new S650 Mustang, as you can see, it is a lot that Ford has done to this car to make it look new and exciting. You have new, sharper LED headlights up front, a larger grille up here for the GTs. You also have these fangs that they've kept in the grille as well. Some fake vents down here from Ford. Don't know why they would do that. Larger cooling apparatuses down here. And this one has the Pony Night package on it, which means you get these 19-inch gloss black rims all the way around the car. Now, as for brakes, speaking of the rims and tires, the brakes on this, you get 13.8-inch brake rotors up front, 14-inch in the back, which up front, that is about 1/10 of an inch smaller than last year's, but you get bigger brake rotors in the back this year compared to the last model year of the Mustang. Now, up front on the hood, you also have this larger heat extractor that sits on the hood. And speaking of the hood, let's look under it to see what Mustang has done to the powertrain of this vehicle. Now, of course, we are now on the 4th generation of the 5-liter V8 Cayote motor, which means we get more power this year compared to the last year, which is funny, if I could get the hood open, which is funny because in 2022, Ford knocked the Gen 3 Coyote down from 460 to 450 horsepower, which was a big disappointment. Loss of 10 horsepower, not that much, but still the principle of it. Wouldn't want to see that. But now with the Gen 4 Coyote, you actually get more power than you used to. Now, as standard, you get 480 horsepower with this 5-liter V8. And if you get the active exhaust system, you get 486 horsepower. For only about $1,200, you get that extra 6 horsepower and a better sounding exhaust. Now, torque figure, about 415 pound-feet of torque, which is still less than the last generation, but still, these are pretty healthy power numbers for a pony car out of America, and I'm glad that they've raised the power levels to around the same power levels as the Dodge Challenger or Charger Scat Pack, which that's only if you get the active exhaust. You're still 1 horsepower more than the Scat Pack is, so we know why Ford did what they did now. But yes, great motor, and like you just saw there, I didn't have to put up a hood prop to keep the hood open. Ford has finally changed that to make it easier for their owners to get under the hood, because now they have those struts. Now, on the side of the new S650 Mustang, of course, you still have the 5.0 badge if you get the GT models. Like I said, this one has the night package on it, which means you get these 19-inch gloss black rims. Already mentioned the brake size, but with this generation of the Mustang, you get 255 all the way around for the tires, which is better than last generation because you only got 235, so you won't be spinning as much when you decide to take this to the drag strip or just launch it on some back road. It's a lot nicer, a lot more user-friendly for the people looking for a sporty driving experience out of this car. Overall, though, the same body design going down into the back is about the same. You have these new-looking door handles on the side, which are a little cooler looking, a little sharper design than the last generation, but for the most part over here, it does look mostly the same. If you were to just look at it from the side of the new Mustang, it looked nearly identical to the last one. Now let's talk about the back of the new Mustang GT back here. Of course, new taillights that have this weird angle design to them. I think they're cool looking, but it's definitely a big difference from the last generation. GT badge, of course, and a more aggressive rear valence on the new GT than you used to get last time. Now this one has the quad exhaust tailpipes that lead back to the Gen 4 Coyote, and like I said, this is the active exhaust, so let's take a look what they sound like in its sportiest mode. Now, of course, with this being a pony car, you do get some trunk space. It's not awful. 13.3 cubic feet of cargo space back here. There are no cargo nets or anything like that, but under the load floor, you do have your spare tire right here. It is a space saver. It's not a full 255. Sadly, you don't get a full rim, but you know, it will do if you ever get a flat tire. But yeah, it's not a bad trunk size. It's just par for the course when it comes to a pony car like this. Now, on the interior of the S650 Mustang, this is where most of the changes have happened for this generation of the Mustang GT and the EcoBoost in general. Let's start with the technology in here. Instead of having your 8-inch center screen running Sync 3 and then maybe an analog gauge cluster, maybe a fully digital gauge cluster, you now as standard get a larger screen in the center running Sync 4, which is Ford's newest operating system, and this is definitely the best implementation of Sync 4 they have done in any of their vehicles, and the gauge cluster is awesome looking, especially compared to the last one. It changes a lot more based on the drive modes, it's a lot more configurable, and it just looks a lot higher quality than the last one used to. You also have a new steering wheel now with the drive mode buttons on the steering wheel to go up and down, which is a lot nicer than having it down here in the center control stack where you have to take your eyes off the road to click it basically. But that also means that they've gotten rid of the exhaust mode changer on here in the center control stack as well. You have to go into your menus to change that, or you have to base it off the drive mode you're in, and not all of us like driving around in track mode just for the exhaust. So that can be a little annoying, but you do have custom modes in this car, which I will go over later. Now for connectivity in here, USB Type A, USB Type C, and two 12-volt sockets on the interior. Don't know why Ford is still doing two 12-volt sockets. It's kind of a waste of connectivity. I don't get it, but whatever. That's just Ford doing their thing. Now, as you can see in the center here, you have a 6-speed manual transmission. They've kept the MT82, but the 10R80 is still an option on this car for around $1,200. You can get the 10-speed automatic, but as standard, you will be getting the 6-speed manual in this car, and it's decent, but everyone knows about third gear lockout and clunkiness. It's just the MT82. It's not amazing, but it's not terrible. Now the seats are a lot more comfortable than they were in the last generation. Yes, they are still cloth on the main part where your backrest is going to be, but now you have these vinyl parts on the side which are nice and soft, along with vinyl on the center console and on the armrest on the door with cloth on the door. The cloth is a lot nicer and a lot softer than it used to be. Now some crazy standard features in this car that the last one didn't have. This is standard, comes with heated seats and dual zone climate control. Finally, Ford is way ahead of the game when it comes to its competitors for this car, though there aren't many competitors left. Now, like I said, this does have a custom drive mode and is very easily configurable. If you click the Mustang logo in the center control stack and you press that, and you look, it'll bring up a My Mustang menu where you're able to configure the custom mode, you're able to configure the My Color system, which is basically the interior ambient lighting, and you're able to pull up auxiliary power gauges, everything like that, and change the cluster theme. On top of that, you also have a track apps area. This keeps line lock, and if you get the manual transmission, you have a launch control mode, and this is also where you can turn on and off the rev match if you don't like having that on, turn on the shift indicators, and basically change the settings on that. Now, as for exhaust modes in this car, of course, you have quiet, normal, sport, and track mode, and you're able to control that through here, or like I said, it will change based on the drive mode you're in as well. Now, as for that custom mode that you have in this car, you can base it off current drive mode profiles, including normal, sport plus sport, and drag mode and track mode if you want to do that, basically to give you a baseline. And there are multiple different profiles for that custom mode, just in case you want to change the custom mode on the fly. There are 6 different profiles that you get that you can change the custom mode to. That way you don't have to finagle with the settings every single time you want to change the custom mode based on what environment you're in or anything like that. Now, the overall design layout of the interior has changed. The vents are a different shape. The center control stack's a different shape and design. The center vents are different. The door, though, basically straight off ripped out of the old S550 Mustang and plopped right in the S650. Other than that, this grill for the speaker, this little mesh, is a little different, but for the most part, this is all the same. But the interior of this car is super comfortable, and I actually quite enjoyed driving it and sitting in it on the way to location to film this car. It's just, Ford's just done a great job of keeping the same formula together, but still making it just as comfortable as the last one while providing upgrades that make the Mustang consumers happy. All right, time to drive the S650 Mustang. This one, like I said, has the MT82. It's a fine transmission. It's just not the best. It's not the Tremec 6-speed that they put in the Dark Horse, which I cannot wait to be in and drive. That'll be a fun review. But overall, for power's sake, I can't really rev it too high because it's still in its break-in period, but for power's sake, it's good. 480 horsepower over the last 450. It feels a tiny bit quicker. It's a little heavier, so that quickness that extra horsepower kind of gets negated out because of the weight, but it feels just as quick, if not a tiny bit quicker. The 6-speed manual is not helping that. With the 10-speed, it'd be a lot easier to tell, but with the 10-speed, you don't get launch control, which I think is the stupidest thing ever. If other brands could put launch control paired with a torque converter, Ford can do it as well. I just don't know why they don't do it like that. But driving position's good. It's just as nice as the last one, if not better. I actually think the visibility out of this car is a tad bit better. The technology is nice. I thought the screens would be in my face when I was driving, but they're not. Steering is also nice. With the different steering modes that you get in this car, you get quite a good range of steering feel, but this one's still good. It's not crazy sports car level, but this is a pony car. It's not necessarily a full-fledged sports car, but the steering is still good and it still tracks well. And the speed is it's still there. You still get that 5-liter V8, and the exhaust sounds great. Of course, some of that exhaust that note is a little artificial, and they use like a pipe to filter in the noise into the cabin. But for the most part, I like the noise of it. You get that deep V8 growl, but you still get a fun driving experience. This is a formula that a lot of people who love American cars crave for, is the front engine coupe V8 that for a while, like a lot of these brands have been killing cars like this because of emissions and because of the cost and the fees they incur from having engines like these that make awful gas mileage, probably about 15 miles per gallon on average right now, which isn't anything to write home about. That's terrible, and Ford's probably getting fined for that. But they still continue to make these cars when brands like Chevy and Dodge have ceased to produce these vehicles because of the fines they incur. And it still has great acceleration off the launch. This is still a good car, and I love how easy and user-friendly they've made this compared to the last generation. The drive mode switch on the steering wheel is great, and all of the other creature comforts, the standard options that they've put in this car are so much better than what they did with the last one. The last one kind of felt cheap if you spent the $37,000 on a base, which a lot of people did, and there's nothing wrong with that. But with this one, you feel like you're getting a lot more out of it, which is nice. And it does start a higher price than this one. This one starts at $42,000, which is pricier, $42,000, $43,000. But I think it's worth it with everything extra that you're getting compared to the last generation. You couldn't even get a digital gauge cluster on the last generation of the Mustang GT if you got the base model. But now it's a standard option. And with all the customizations you could do, the infotainment system, Sync 4 is great. They've really done well. And overall, the driving experience of it is nice. I don't really have any complaints, because when I got in this car at first and saw the standard options and the equipment you get for a car, this one has some options. Active exhaust, which adds that 6 extra horsepower, the package on the outside, then there's fees and everything. This one's around $48,000. But I think that's very obtainable for people. Like, they're going to enjoy the car and feel like they got a deal when they go and buy one anyway. So Ford, I think you've done a really, really good job at pricing it. I don't think 48's unattainable. It's more expensive than the last one, which a lot of people will complain about, but with all the standard options you're getting in this car, you can't really complain that much, and it is really comfortable. It'd be a great car to go on tours with, great road trip capability in this car, and like I said, it's just super comfortable. So A+ on the driving for Ford. Now, with only a $4,000 difference in the prices for the trim levels between 2023 to 2024, specifically for the GT Fastback, not the premium, I think it is a worthy upgrade compared to the last generation. A lot of people will now love the fact that the S650 Mustang is going to be dropping in value, especially because the S650 is out now. But I encourage you to go out and buy one of these instead. The technology is far better. You get a lot more power than you used to, especially because Ford cut the old Mustang's power from 460 to 450. And personally, I just think it's a great looking car. And overall, all you Mustang lovers out there, I think this one is perfect for anyone looking for a Mustang in the market for one today. If you guys liked the video, make sure to hit that like button down below. You want to see more from us, make sure you subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next video.